So guys, you all welcome back to this channel. It's very, very sad and quite unfortunate that Nigerian government has vowed not to listen to Nigerians, and to look at things that even made them to protest in the first place. Look at the bad governance protest that just happened a few weeks ago. Like, they're not even looking into the demands of the particular protest. They're not looking into the demands. These guys, they made out a list that they want the government to achieve. They got to a point that they said that if they don't achieve that thing that made them to start protesting, that they're not going to stop. And these guys are very serious, because in October they're even planning another protest, and the government, they are not even looking into the demands of that particular protest and the reason why Nigerians actually went for a protest. They are not looking into the reasons why Nigerians are warming up for another protest, because these guys, they are warming up for another protest in October. So yesterday, Nigerian government arraigned 10 protesters out of more than 100 protesters that Nigerian government arrested on the charges of treasonable activities. You can imagine, on the charges of treasonable activities. Just as Deji said in this video that I'm going to play for you in a short while, that this Tinubu's government is actually, they are really calling for anarchy. Like Nigerian government, they are supposed to be very, very busy now. When I mean busy, they are supposed to be very busy now, especially our security agencies, going after bandits and all that, even after kidnappers, and, to also tackle all this insecurity in Nigeria, because it is really getting too much. Insecurity in Nigeria is something else. It's getting worse. In Nigeria, is getting worse, and it's making Nigerians very uncomfortable. So that is what we are supposed to be talking about, not to be going about and arresting protesters, even the anti-protesters that attack the protesters, as well as the journalists that we are reporting the events. How many of them did Nigerian government arrested? How many of them did they arrest? Even the 10 protesters that we are in court yesterday, all of them, they were from Abuja. So tell me now, what is Abuja protesters doing with treasonable activities? So guys, I will allow you guys to listen to what Deji said, because he was with the protesters yesterday in the court. And please, if today is your first day of seeing our video, please do well to subscribe, like, and also drop a comment below. I'll see you guys in my next video. Make sure you listen to what Deji said from beginning to the end, so you get everything that this guy said, because he said a whole lot of things about what happened yesterday. So guys, I'll see you guys in my next video.
Deji, let me start with you, because I know that during the protests we had you came here, and you're one of those who were on the streets protesting in Abuja as at that time. Were the charges now leveled against those that were arrested? Because these persons that were arrested were those that took part in that protest, where you were also there. Were the charges leveled against them? Aren't you also afraid that the government may come after you? As being a part of those who
I would be delighted if I'm charged for treasonable felony. I would be delighted for protesting. After all, terrorists are enjoying this government, and none of them have been charged in the last 1 year.
How do you know about that?
Show me an instance where terrorists that have been terrorizing and kidnapping people in Kaduna, in Zamfara, in Sokoto, in Kebbi, all across the country. One instance where terrorists were charged, where one terrorist has been declared wanted in the last 1 year, like the way protesters have just been declared. It's a shame that this is the best joke they could come up with. And they are not even laughing to their funny jokes. Very hilarious, I must say. Are we not all entertained by the clowns and the gestures that we are witnessing all over the country today? Indeed, I am entertained, and I think you should be entertained as well. Unfortunately, it's a dangerous joke, because this is In fact, what they are afraid of is what they are eventually encouraging. You know, I do not see why anyone will be scared of protest. What they are trying to do is to criminalize protest implicita, to ensure that citizens, when people hear, some people have been charged for treasonable felony, me, I don't want to protest again. No. So they are trying to, one of the protesters was arrested in church yesterday. Yesterday in church, was arrested in church. Members of the church resisted and said, why will you arrest anybody and even come to the church of God to arrest the person because of protest? Do you know what the police officers who went to arrest him told the church people, just so that they can get away with the guy? They said he was an armed robber. That the guy is an armed robber. They arrested a journalist in Port Harcourt. They announced on the flight, they made sure everybody boarded the flight. Then they announced on the flight that the guy is a kidnapper. On the flight. These are the kind of people that are in power. This grab it, snatch it, run with it fellow. He has been protesting all his life. He's a product, he's one of the chief beneficiaries of June 12 struggle. A struggle that was brought to light by protest. These are people, look at all the people today. You see policemen acting like politicians, making careless remarks. These are the things that made military rule possible in the first place.
But we're not praying for that in Nigeria.
Nobody's praying for military rule, but you can see what these guys are doing. And people are watching them and taking notes. This was the reason. Go and check all through history. Look at what has just happened in Bangladesh. Senseless politicians behaving like mad people all over the country in Bangladesh was why the democratically elected government in Bangladesh was removed. You understand? These guys should be careful. Nobody wants military to come back to this country. The reason why I cannot speak about the arraignment of the protesters is that I'm one of the lawyers to the protesters.
Okay.
I'm representing the 6th, 7th, and 8th defendant in that matter. So I will not make any remarks that will be sub judice. So I will refrain from speaking about the matter in court. But I can tell you for free that what the current government is doing is inviting anarchy. Because you have seen how bloody the Shiite protests became. When you make peaceful protests impossible, you know, because people just have to vent. You cannot be making bad economic policies back to back. And you are telling people that people cannot protest, that protest is now treasonable felony. People were arrested. Homes were broken. People were abducted for protesting, and you call that treasonable felony, and terrorists are dancing and sharing their location on TikTok as we speak. An emir was kidnapped in this country by terrorists. That does not anger the government. But what angers the government is protest. These guys even have the guts to call people like, even me, they called me to threaten me that I should stop supporting the protesters. Can you just imagine, in a democracy? What,
you got a call?
Yeah, of course. I've gotten several calls from security agencies in this country threatening me to stop supporting the protesters. In a democracy, even the military regime, the protests were happening under the military regime. And how is this government different from the military regime? How? How is this government different from any military regime? Because if the idea is to dissuade people from calling for military incursion, which many of us have condemned, then you are doing worse than the military did. You are violating people's rights. You are breaking into people's homes. You are trying to criminalize free speech. You are trying to criminalize journalism. You are trying to criminalize protests. And you say people should not wave flags, which of course apparently we have condemned. The government should stop fueling the agitation for raising of flags. The government should stop funding the agitation for people to begin to hate democracy. Because if the government continues this way, more people will begin to hate democracy. And this government is the #1 demarcator of the current democracy that we enjoy in the country, not the protesters. The protesters are saying they want bad governance to end.
Deji, before I go to Barrister Otapupo, I need to ask you this question, because you were on the streets during the protest.
Yes, indeed.
Since you don't want to talk about the matter before the court, and that protest, Because let me just mention what the lawyer to the federal government said. I think at the beginning of this program, he mentioned that a foreigner was inciting. He was causing inducement, using Nigerians.
That's media publicity. A senior advocate of Nigeria should know the rules of professional conduct. He should not be doing that.
Okay.
Because the man is already charged before the court. The rules of professional conduct forbids a lawyer who is in a matter to be still delving into the arena and be making conclusions and passing judgments. That is professional misconduct.
Let me also say this. He said it is not an issue of protest, but that of inciting mutiny. He
does not. Listen, a lawyer who is interested and involved in a matter should refrain from making extrajudicial comments on a matter that the court is already seized of. Okay. The court is already seized on the matter, so I will not respond to him.
Okay, what about where he also said there were circulating revolutionary books in courts?
The matter. What is the need for the media trial? The matter is already before the court.